Hey homies, what's up? Ryan Wynn here, another episode of Late Night INKS. And I'm your humble host, the Ink King. Got kneaded eraser smudged on my desk. Can't have that. Can't have that because you want to be able to twist the paper around really easily. But I often use my kneaded eraser as sort of like a magnet with my pencils. Stick them on the board and stuff. And every once in a while, leaves a little residue. So watch out for that. That's actually something people don't think about a lot when they start inking or working on comics is you think the hand holding the pen or the pencil is going to always be the one that gets cramped up or tired, but you are spinning a page around. You're using your other hand, whether you're left or right-handed. You're using your opposite hand just as much. So anyways, let's see. So tonight I want to work with the nib. Look at this busted old pen holder and spongy pen grip thing. I've had this for like 15 years. I have like 5 different pen holders and they all have nibs at varying degrees of wear and tear. This one's still pretty sharp. It's pretty loose. It's been used a bit, but it's got a nice stiffness and a nice spring to it. So I want to do my warm-up as usual. Now, this has been the same warm-up page we've been using all week with the brush inks, and this is done on like an 80-pound semi-gloss paper. I don't use this for comics. This is for prints and stuff like that, but it's nice for doing brush warm-ups because the paper's cheap. You can see how clean those come out. Now here's the difference with the pen. Where I said in a previous video, it's like tattooing the paper. Drink of water here. So I'm going to load up the pen, shake off a little of the extra ink. Similar to the brush, you really only need to go just past this point here. Halfway. Let's get that to focus. You don't want too much ink on there. You will have to test it out and get used to the amount of ink that is loaded on there. It takes a little work, but you know, maybe a different video will go over that, excuse me. So I want to use the same paper to warm up. I'm going to do little lines. Now I don't know if it shows up on the camera quite yet. I'll bring it up to the camera in a second, but the pen scores the paper. And by that I mean it's, excuse me, it scratches into the paper and then gravity and vacuum, almost like the paper vacuums the ink out of here and sucks the ink in and it spreads out into the cuts. Now let's see if we can get that to focus. Not clean lines. So that's fine for warming up, but that's why you have to be very careful about the paper you select. Cheap paper will do that. It's fine with the brush, but man, once you break out that pen. The same thing also happens if you've overworked the paper in the pencils. If you've erased too much and scratched in too much with the pencil, it kind of doesn't give the ink and pen anywhere to, and anything to hold on to, anything to cut into. It's like trying to tattoo, gonna gross you out for a second. It was like trying to tattoo a wound or something. It's just not gonna work out. So we'll do little warm-ups. The pen tends to be a lot louder than people expect. So you see I'm mostly just leaving my hand in place and kind of flicking my wrist, but it's not a full flick like that, which a lot of artists do. I'm not the best at that. Doesn't always create the exact kind of line I like. I like there to be a little bounce in my lines regardless, but the pen allows you to do those nice simple bounce like that. My elbows rested at 45 degrees away from my body, and then my arm comes back 45 degrees as well. Sorry, thought I wasn't recording for a second. And then just little flicks, and you go thin to thick to thin, thin to thick to thin, thin to thick to thin. Hard to tell because it's just tearing the paper up. And then as your lines get longer, you start to incorporate a little bit of the elbow, maybe a little bit of the shoulder. And then I always use, oh no, we're not in focus. Oh, that's what was going on. All right, so I always use a little bit of a paper towel, just bloopity bloop, get the old ink off, dip it again, we're back in business. So let's, enough time with that. I already warmed up kind of off camera. I just wanted to show you how it works on that paper because it gives a good example of how the pen cuts into the paper. So, all right, hands and faces. These are the most important things in penciling and inking. These convey the emotions and the intent of the characters. All of the acting is done with hands and faces. So I've kind of gone in and done a few spots where I've tightened things up. I've already inked a few of the hands. But how do I do that? So what I like to do is do the ends of the fingers. I was taught this by Joe Weems, and that sort of gives you a good base to work off. I'm going to actually do the knuckles while I'm here too. There we go. All right, now I just inked right here a little bit, so I want to avoid that. I'm going to spin our board. Remember, I told you that's part of the practice as well. All right, we are centered, we are good. And then you can go thin on the top, heavier on the bottom, thin on the top, heavier on the bottom, thin on the top, heavier on the bottom, and you guessed it, thin on the top, heavier on the bottom. All right, and I like to go in small increments like that. It's also another thing I learned from Joe Weems. Make everything a series of smaller lines. And you can always thicken, you can always bolden, you can always lengthen a line later too. And this is coming out much cleaner on this illustration board. I don't want to risk zooming right now, getting all blurry, but there's no feathering or tearing or anything like that going on. So, okay, we got our wet spots here, we got wet ink there. Let's move up to this face here. So, one of the things I learned when I was inking for Danny Mickey was you work your way out on the eyes. You do pupils, iris, eyelids, eyebrows. And that way you make sure everything is lined up. These are lined up pretty good. Tiny little pupils. There we go. Those look like they're looking at this area. Let's have it, I don't know, should he be looking up a little more? It's kind of how he had it drawn, though. Alright, the eyes look lined up to me. Let's do the upper lid and the eyebrow and this little nose shadow. Let's do the edge of the nose, bring up part of the eyebrow. This eye is mostly hidden by the eyebrow. We're gonna leave that alone right now because it's wet and I want to let it dry and then come back in. I don't want to risk pulling too much ink off the nib and maybe getting extra bloops. I kind of already have one near the eye and the iris there. It's not bad, like I said. That eye is mostly hidden in behind the eyebrow and stuff, so that'll be okay. But we're going to be more careful moving forward. All right, load up the pen. Add a little bit of water because I'm getting such bad cotton mouth. I never talk, and then I do this thing, and my mouth's like, oh, no, we're dry. We're done. Now you're going to be all like, blah, blah, blah. All right, so did the edge of the Daredevil's thumb there, which we had already kind of outlined his thumb here when we did the shadowed part of this ninja's back, but we gave ourselves a little bit of room to come in and give it a nice, clean set of lines. And I do want that heavy, so I don't fear that getting a little bloopy. And then here we have his forefinger and the rest of his hand going over the shoulder of the ninja. So you really want to make sure you give that foreshortening effect. He's got his bandana ties here, or whatever, his neckerchief, ninja neckerchiefs. Okay, so we have his other hand is back here. Let's see, let's follow the rules. Pay attention to where the wet ink is. We'll do the end of this guy's thumb, the end of his finger. Now it creates a tangent with the line on the background. We'll adjust that line, probably lower that significantly. Okay, so going ahead and doing some of the lines that all go in this direction. Oh, out of ink. Dip, give it a little shake. There we go. Now I'm gonna break my own rule a little bit. Usually, like I said before, I will do the ends of the fingers and then come back from there, but I'm actually feeling really comfortable going, throwing my lines this way right now. And when you get a little more experienced, you get better at meeting lines that are already inked. By that I mean, say I draw this line here, it's much easier to have clean corners if you go like that and pull away from the line you already have. But as you get a little more experienced, you'll get pretty good at just aiming for that corner, because like I've explained before, you return to where you want to go. That's how you get a clean line. So you aim for this, you pull back, and go boom. You get nice clean points. But that's as you get more experienced, as you become an ink king, you will learn. Okay, so back to this guy's hand. Load up that nib. Make sure there's no fuzz from that paper, no pulp. Go up and meet those lines. This finger goes behind his little bandana, and then these fingers are folded in down like this, so we won't really see them. You just see those two. And then since we are in a safe zone here, safe space, we can go ahead and whip these bandages or ribbons that they have tied around their wrists. I'm sure every ninja watching right now is like, dude, don't call those ribbons. Bro, I'm a ninja. Can't believe you would disgrace my ninja type, my ninja kind like that. All right, I love everybody. Don't want to offend the ninjas. But that hand's done. That ninja hand's done. Okay, let's see. Next in line to keep us, away from all the wet ink, which we've got here, we'll come over to this hand, which I had already started. But now I can do the palm, little split in the palm there that we all have. Kind of finish these fingers and knuckles. And then, you know what? We're going to bear down a little and actually drag some of this wet ink in this white area. I got a little paper pulp on there now, and it's soaking up that ink, and I can actually use it almost like a brush to kind of fill in. I don't want to do any nice lines or the hand lines, but I was just filling that space in like that. And then I can take the paper towel and clean it off. There we go. Okay, loading the nib back up. Excuse me, let's do this guy's eyes. He's definitely looking right at Daredevil. His eyes, they're too small for pupils, so we're just going to do the irises like that. I'm not going to fill him in, though, because I might be able to sneak a little pupil in there. And again, keeping this hand away from any of the wet ink, it's doing all the spinning like this. It's barely coming over any possible landmines here. So we're going to spin, and let's see, his bandana comes up like that. His neckerchief. Again, geez, I should be careful. I don't want to offend any ninjas that are watching. And this one comes behind it. All right, we'll come back in with a brush and fill that stuff in and do some of the rendering and the bleeds. So let's do some Daredevil foot. I guess feet are pretty important too. You don't really do acting with feet, but you always want your feet to look cool. All of my favorite comic artists, like Art Adams, stuff like that, they have a really cool style for feet. And their feet always look well inked and well crafted, and they just look cool, man. All right, we're going a little bolder here. I'm liking bold lines on this guy. All right, I'm gonna leave that. You see, sometimes I kind of like pretend, I'm like, what would that look like if I did that? Or what? I sort of imagine ink over stuff sometimes. Like this ankle I want to fix a little. There we go. Okay, so let's do these wrist ribbons. Screw it, I don't care if I offend any ninjas watching. These are your wrist ribbons. Because ninjas got to stay quarantined too. So it's like, they're like, oh man, Ryan's talking shit, we should go beat him up. And they're like, yeah, but dude, do we want to risk going out there, getting sick? Getting other people sick if we have it? Ninjas would be home too. All right, there's a hand I already did. I'm going to clean up the knuckles a little bit. Ooh, I forgot I'd inked this part and almost touched down right there so that I could finish up those wrist ribbons, but we're going to have to come back to that. All right, let's do a little bit of Daredevil face here. See what we can do while avoiding this area. Which is actually not hard because this is the space I would want to take up if there was no wet ink. This is exactly how I'd want to be inking this. Start down here, underside of the lip. We can go a little heavy because that's going to be a shadow. Top side of that lip, we want to go nice and thin. Boom. We can go a little heavier on this underside of the upper lip because that's going into shadow and there's no nose. So just like I said about this guy's eye here, I don't want to do the connecting lines on this yet. I want those to be really clean, and I get scared sometimes on pulpy paper that if I try to drag that right now, it'll drag some fuzzy paper and create an unclean line. Unclean. So on the eyes, we're going to do the underside, and here we actually can kind of do the top side because we didn't drag through, we just met that wet line. So I'm going to make sure I got no pulp on the nib. All right, we're good. Spin carefully, then do the underside, which we can heavy that up after, nice and thin so that it's clean, and then barely touch it with the eyebrow line. And then we'll do where the horn connects, and do where the horn connects, and leave that alone for now. Do his little ear. Drink a little water. All right, looks like we're going to go over 20 minutes on this one because I want to do a little more. Okay, that's wet. So I do have to bring this hand in a little because I want to control the paper a little more, and where it's raised because of the wet ink in the middle slightly, I want to be able to press it down flat. So I carefully bring my hand up there. And let's do Daredevil's hand. We've got these parts like that. Go across. Thin to thick. All right, these lines don't have to meet. They're more suggested shadows that describe the hand. He did a good job with this. So notice I'm always starting where my line's going to end. I do it really quick though. You almost wouldn't notice. Because I am a ninja. I am the ink ninja. That's why I can talk trash on these ninjas and their ninja ribbons. Because I'm part ninja. Alright, we kind of want to leave that alone now. Alright, let's go up and do this guy's face. Well, let's get it lined up. Okay, so old school Danny Mickey rules. Pupils, they're pretty well lined up, so we're going to hit those first. And they are tiny, tiny pupils. Just little dots. When people are scared, shocked, or in pain, it's okay in comics and animation to exaggerate how small the pupils would be. When we were inking Spawn, let's see, I'm going to do this part of the eye. Now I'm breaking my rules. I said the iris next, but I'm going to do these lines here. When I was inking Spawn and we were inking Angel Medina, he would actually shrink the iris of the eye to add to that effect, and it worked really well, especially in a horror superhero book like that. Okay, so we're going to finish off his mask too. A little bit of pulp thickened up the line there, but that's okay. I'll go do those with the brush. Let's see. So you always want to think about too, like I'm doing hand, so I want to jump and do this hand, but if I do that hand first, I can't get in and do those lines. So I want to be mindful of that wet ink. All right, so that's the last spot of the wet ink. We want to line up so you're safe away from there. And I want to do the underside of these ninja wrist ribbons. Man, I went to the store and all the toilet paper and the ninja wrist ribbons were gone. I guess people know that ninja wrist ribbons work as toilet paper in times of crisis. Yeah, that's right. I said that, ninjas. That's right. I'm going to have all the ninjas coming at me on Twitter tomorrow. Oh well, bring it. Oh, I didn't do the ends of those fingers. That is weird. All right, let's do that. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Oh, no. That was dumb. So I'd started this hand last night. I was pretty tired, I guess. So we're going to have to do a whiteout because the sword is supposed to be covering that finger. Oh, man. I screwed up. So this is all dry now, so I can put my hand there and finish up this hand on this hand soldier. Then the hand or the foot. I always forget. Always forget. And once you've inked 1,000 hands, you know where the knuckles and stuff are. But they're never easy. Hands are still always a little tricky. All right, we can sneak in here now and do these irises. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to turn it upside down. Or almost upside down. And boom. Boom. Oh, that bled over. We'll have to fix that. All right, well, everything's got to dry now. So 27 minutes. I think if anyone's watched this far, they deserve a no prize. So thank you for watching it all. If you did, thank you for watching this far. I hope I taught you something about the nib. If you've got questions, ask below. Let's see, let's zoom in on some of this to see what we did. Yeah, if you got questions, ask below and I will do my best to do a video about it or incorporate some information. I am going to be explaining how I clean my brushes and stuff like that. And again, no apologies if you are a ninja and I offended you tonight. But the rest of you, until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, take it easy.